Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you are having a great day. This is video 4. Hopefully you guys aren't upset with me or mad, that you get where I'm coming from, a pure and genuine place, okay? And if you are new to this video, like what is she talking about, please go watch video 1, 2, and 3 and get caught up, and then come back. I'll be leaving them in the description box down below. That way you have a point of reference. And I'm really doing these videos so that way when I'm in my house and I can't do them, you have a point of reference to them. That way what I'm doing makes sense and I'm not continuously answering the same questions over and over. So when I start doing renovations and tweaking things here and there, these videos will be tagged in those videos because I just may not be able to reply back as swiftly as I am accustomed to doing. In this video, I will be sharing some helpful tips that may or may not help you. So there are 4 measurements that I try to keep in my head all the time, and for me it's really 2 because I only have a king and a queen size bed in the house, so I try to keep a hold of those 2 measurements, but it can be different for you. So pretty much I have wrote everything down so I don't miss a step in this, okay? So with the king bed being 76 by 80, if you were to change that into feet, it would give you roughly just under 6.5 feet, which means the rug that you'll be putting under your bed is going to be an 8 by 10 or a 9 by 12. It's going to be your choice. You don't want to go under that. The bed being just under 6.5 feet means that if you were to do a 7 by, it's probably going to be a little too small in terms of scale. When you're dealing with a queen size bed, which is going to be your 60 by 80 in terms of feet, is going to give you about 5 feet. So in terms of a rug, you can do an 8 by 10, but again, if you want to go a little bit bigger, you can. I think what's going to gauge the 9 by 12 under your bed is if you plan on having accent chairs. For me, I had a day bed. Those things are going to be the factor. I wanted to be able to get out my bed, have enough rug underneath the bed where when I came off the bed, I would land my feet on the rug. The person sleeping on the other side could land their feet coming off the rug. And then if I decided to sit in the day bed, I would have enough rug. That can play very differently for everyone, and that can look very different for everyone. It just really depends on what you're trying to create in your space. I'm going to show you guys some tips that I used when it came time to purchase the rug in the living room. So in terms of the living room, what I did is I took the measuring tape and I measured the front legs of the sofa. The front legs of the sofa measured in at about 7 feet. I knew with the measurement of 7 feet coming in for the sofa that the rug that I would be going with would be a 9 by 12. But then I also knew that I wanted accent chairs. So I knew the measurements of the accent chair, which was going to be about a 32 by 32. So I taped that out. And when I taped it out, I came up with a 10 by 14 rug would be the best fit. So the 10 runs, so let's just say this is the fireplace. The 10 runs this way, the 14 runs the long way, which means the accent chairs were going to sit directly on top of the rug, which I'll be sharing that with you guys now. The sofa coming in at 7.5 feet. When I saw this one here at 5 feet, which is 5 feet long, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And keep in mind that I had the measurement for the sofa, which like I said, across this way was 10. So keep in mind that the rug is 10 feet, right? So now you've got 10 feet minus 3 feet, okay, which 3.5. We'll just say 4 feet, okay, which then leaves you with 6 feet. And the 6 feet that I'm calculating is 3 feet of rug on this side plus 3 feet of rug on this side here, which if you have 3 feet, this right here comes to 1.5 feet. I mean, I could push the rug back a little bit more and get 2 feet of space, but you really only need about 20 inch of space to kind of work here, which 20 is going to be right here. And it, you probably can't even see it. Maya, move the camera back just a little bit. See, if I do the 20, which is right here, you still have enough rug on the back end of that. So that's when you know that your scale is going to be right. The reason why I pushed it and didn't do 20, I ended up doing 18, is because there's a console table on that end, and I did not want it to seem too much space on one side and not the other. So if you're at home and you're doing this, you don't have to buy the rug before you plan this room out. If you know your rug is a 9 by, you're going to do the 9 feet plus whatever feet your table is, plus leaving that 18 to 20 for the walking space, and then you can kind of go ahead and design your space. I really hope this helps y'all, like for real, because that will get you to the perfect rug. The same thing can be done when you are trying to measure your dining table. You want to take the measuring tape, run it up top of your dining table. The end measurement is going to let you know what size you need for the table. Again, if you're coming in at 7 feet, don't do an 8 by 10. Try to do a 9 by. And the only reason why I say that is because you have to do your chairs. If your dining room table is within that 6 feet, don't do a 9 by 12 rug, because it's probably going to make your table look entirely too small. It really comes down to scale of how things are going to look. You don't want your furniture to look too big, and you don't want it to look too small. This table measured at, well, it's 60 inches, so technically it just went a little over 6.5, and that's because it kind of bevels. I'm not sure if you guys can see it on that side, but it kind of bevels out just a little bit. So the very top of it comes in at 59.5, but the outer part of it comes in at, anyway, regardless of what, is 5.5 feet. And for the 5.5 feet, what I did was I used the biggest option that I could have, which is an 8 by 10 rectangle rug, instead of using a round rug. I know a lot of you guys was like, why didn't you do a round rug? A round rug in this space wasn't going to protect the flooring, and that was my focus in this room. The biggest rule of thumb is when you move your chairs from your table, you want the chairs to still be on the rug. That's the basis of everything. You want it to still be able to be on that rug, and that's when you know you have the proper sizing. For your living room, you can choose to have your furniture, and I do mean your sofa, front and back legs on the rug, or you can just choose for the front. For me, I didn't feel like the living room was big enough for me to get a huge rug and have everything on the rug, and I didn't want to not be able to see the hardwood floors. I wanted that to be exposed, so I chose to just do the very front legs of the sofa. That way you can see it, and that's pretty much going to be the same way I'm going to rework the space in the new place. Again, the rule of thumb is if you go from your floor to your lighting fixture, which is like over your dining room table, you want it to measure at least 60 by 65. From the bottom of this bead till here, it's 31 exact. Now, they're planning, and I'm sure they didn't follow the gauge of this window. They went to the middle of this window and they just centered it between these two windows, which is kind of off. Even for a rectangular table, it's still off. It needs to be moved over just a little bit, but then it's not going to center this window here. So I didn't really mess with that. I know a lot of people were concerned with me not taking like the physical furniture in the house, and I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like in terms of design, I did a really good job, number one. Number two, everything here is to scale and it's perfect. Will it be perfect in my space? It just would not be perfect in my space at all. So when I get to where I'm going, I have to make sure that things are going to be to scale. That way, in the future, when I do these type of videos, I'll be in my new home. All right? You don't have to hold on to this measurement. And the reason why I'm telling you not to hold on to this measurement is because if you go into progressive lighting, Ferguson lighting, circle lighting, there is a lighting designer in that store. That is not my specialty. I just know it works for my space. But if you get a lighting designer, they know everything about lighting. They can tell you the bulb. They can tell you what size and scale for that room, how tall, how short, how high, how much space in between, all of that. And it's crazy because although I had already fixed everything in the house and then I started design school, and yes, I did go on a break but I'm gonna be starting back after I close because I wasn't anywhere mental for me to be thinking about school, so I had to make a decision for myself to kind of stop. But I will be going back because I do want to finish. As I was going through my classes and they were going over measurement on how high and how much space and all these things, I think I told you guys this before, I came home with my measuring tape. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to change everything. And I just started measuring. I was like, oh my God, I did the 30-inch walkway. I had the 40-inch. I had the 60-inch. Like, I was really surprised without any formal design learning that I had already implemented these things in the house. So for me personally, going to school was something that I felt like in terms of having the proper documentation was going to help me to further my career and working with different brands. But I didn't feel like in terms of putting a room together mathematically was out of my realm of something that I couldn't do. And if you're wondering, the only difference between an interior decorator and interior designer is math and science. And I think it may not be a big deal when you're thinking about it, but if you're trying to design a room and you're not physically in the room, I'm trying to tell y'all, every little tiny measurement counts when you are working a space. And just because you can buy a pillow and buy a sofa and buy a table does not necessarily mean that this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm not knocking anyone, let me just be clear about that. But there's a lot more that just goes into it than just like the really pretty stuff. Like, again, you've guys seen it. Like, I've gone shopping, I look a hot mess, but I do know that when I'm done with the space, it's going to be right. And if a designer comes behind me, they may not necessarily like what I did, but my scale isn't going to be off. My planning isn't going to be off. Maybe one of these days, if you guys are interested, I will leave it up to y'all to tell me if you're interested in it. I can do a detailed video on how you want to measure your space and measure it properly. So when it comes time for you to design, you don't necessarily mess up. Maybe you may not have the financials to hire someone. And let me just say, you may not want to hire me for design, but you may want to hire me just for consulting. I do consultations where I will go into your home and kind of help you to navigate your home. I don't pick anything. I don't show you fabrics, but I will say, you know, this may work out a little bit better for you in terms of moving around. And I do feel like me having two boys that are super active gives me just a little bit of an upper hand than if I was single. If I was single 100%, I'd probably just do things very differently. But having kids, I've learned to still be able to work a space, because what my kids do is when they run through the living room, the two accent chairs that are there, which I'm gonna have accent chairs, they hold on to the arms and they swing, you know? And I thought about that in my head when I was putting it together. I was like, if they're running, what are they gonna do, you know? So I made sure to keep enough room around so if they were running around, they wouldn't tear anything up. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And like I said, you don't have to necessarily keep those measurements, but if you're planning on not getting any sort of help whatsoever and you're working in your home yourself, I do think those tips on measuring will help you to make sure that things are to scale. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.